Hi there. Well, I've been trying to get to this for just about all day now. I had an intermittent problem. I didn't know it was intermittent yesterday when I took the power supply out and looked it over and found, you see, there's a bit of corrosion there on this particular board. This is not the power supply board, but there's some corrosion there. You can see copper showing and a little bit of discoloration of the solder mask just about the center of the screen, just below D257. But the point I'm interested in is the solder connections right here by C252 and the D253. Those two pins there are on a transformer that is part of the display circuitry for this Y buffer board from a plasma TV. This is an LG plasma, about 8 years old. A 60-inch, pretty heavy brute, but what I'm thinking is that maybe these solder joints are causing my problem. I put the power supply in and it played all day long yesterday, and I went out there yesterday evening and noticed that there was no picture. There was still sound but no picture. So I turned it off and back on and everything seemed to be normal. The set didn't complain. It didn't shut off because of supply was missing, any of that business, or a short. So something prompted me. Let me show you the other side of this board. Something prompted me to, I don't know why, but sometimes I just get this impression, this idea, this hunch that I should tap on the set somewhere. So I was looking at it from the rear, and right over here is a heat sink. This large heat sink, and it's connected to the it's on the transistors that drive the buffer output into the display drivers, the actual drivers themselves that drive the LED, I mean the plasma panel. But something prompted me to just give that a little tap, and I just touched it ever so lightly, just ever so lightly, maybe about like that, and the picture came back on. So I decided to pull this board and look for any kind of bad solder. I'd already looked over the power supply for any sign of bad capacitors. I didn't see any visual signs on this one either. And I actually tested the ones on the power supply. But I cleaned the board with detergent, soap and water, alcohol, and all of that. And got to the point where I could see everything much better. I put my big magnifiers on. And now I'm going to have to relocate those joints again here. Let me see, right in there, I've got my boogered up finger to go by. Let's see, they were, well, the point is I inspected the board, looked it all over, and right here is what I found. If you look right there, you can see that there are some unsoldered pins. They look unsoldered anyway, all along that row. One of them, the one in the middle, of course, that would be where is it? The one in the middle would be that one right there. That one right there doesn't go anywhere, so it doesn't really matter, but it's an indication that that transformer gets hot. So I believe that's what has disrupted the solder here, kind of like a normal wear and tear situation. But I'm going to solder it, and I wanted to get this visual, so the only way I can really tell if I can really conclude that this could have been causing my problem is to solder it and observe how it behaves when I solder it. So I'm going to go in there and solder that. Make sure I get the right ones so it shows on the camera. Okay, let's start with that one right there. Well, that one didn't behave the way I expected. You know, that one kind of did. What I'm looking for is a division in the heat absorption of the solder joint between the different materials in the joint. See, that one had the signs of a bad one, but that's not the functional joint. So that's another one there. Give it a little rub to try to get it to do better. Now I have some other ones along here that I had seen. One in particular is on the little opto isolator that gives feedback to the circuit to keep the regulation effect, to give it feedback to regulate everything. There's another one right here that I just saw. I don't know if you can see that. It's right in here. Yep, right there. And right there. Now, there are a few miscellaneous here and there that I think I'll go do, but those are the ones that had my attention, and they have prospect because they're right in the vicinity of where I tapped, with just a couple of inches, within a couple of inches of where I applied just the slightest little bit of mechanical stimulation. And that's kind of what I go by to find intermittence. Well, I'm going to solder some more of these, and then since I washed it, I'm going to dry it in the oven at about 100 degrees for a while to make sure all the water's gone before I put it in the set, because there's some high voltages here. I don't want anything to get disrupted, anything to get zapped. So I'll update the video later when I find out. Thanks for looking. Alrighty, here it is the next day on this board. Put it back in the TV set. There's the power supply I had out the other day, and I thought I had it successfully repaired by clearing that corrosion on the power supply. What? No, it conked out. So, and this right here is the heatsink I was talking about. That I just tapped it like that. I just went like that, and my picture came back on. And so I pulled that board. Very difficult because of these connectors along the edge here. They're really tough to get apart, and then they're really tough to put back together. But I got it back together, and I turned it on, and by golly, see, it's on. It's running. I would put some content on there, and maybe I will later, just to show the picture. But very good. I don't want to get taken down for a copyright violation, so I'll get some original content and put it on there at the end of this video. But I wanted to show you something interesting. I'll go out there in the yard and show you. Okay, this is what I wanted to show you. Does that look familiar? Does that look familiar? I had this set dropped off on its way to the dump. And so far I've taken 2 transistors out of it to repair something else. I didn't realize last night until I came out here looking for something, and I remembered this LG. I don't get too many LGs, that's why it kind of stuck out in my head. But it's odd because it's the same series as the one I'm working on. If I get that model number in there. Indicator 2, and that's okay. Well, it's playing. I want to put some original content on there so that YouTube didn't take me down for violating copyright. On the ground, it's a nice color. It's playing. That's the other indicator. Luckily, I didn't. My wife asked me, "Well, how do you damage anything?" Well, I had it apart and washed it and all that business. You have to be at the mercy of the person that harvested the melon, and when they decided to take it. To show you how these are coming along. Well, it looks like it works. This set finally qualified to have the back put on, so that's what I did today. I put the back on it. Talk to the customer. Now I'll play it out for a few dozen hours and make sure everything's okay. It looks okay so far. It's not quite dried up yet.
So that one's
pretty confident
close,
that
but I
was
have
the
one
problem.
here.
Those connections right there near that heatsink.
This one right
That
here
big transformer mounted
is
on
getting
there.
pretty dried up.
And there you have
But
it.
I've learned
Thanks
from
for watching.
experience this year that I have to